Experience a progressive lens engineered with AI from Essilor, powered by individual measurements of your visual behavior. A lens personalized to you by an Essilor expert. Discover Verilux XR Track and enjoy instantly sharp vision in motion and seamless transitions from near to far. Find your local Essilor expert today at Essilor.com.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
Hey, this is Kaylee Humphrey, two-time Olympic champion in bobsleigh.
Hey, this is Jonathan Simkin. I am the president of 604 Records.
Hey, I'm Sam Roberts.
Hi, I am Julia Budd, Bellator 145-pound, three-time world champion.
Hi, this is Thomas Adora, and I'm a sex and relationship guru.
Hey, what's up? This is John Humphrey, drummer for the rock band Cedar.
Hey, I'm Kristen Renton.
Hey, this is Troy Licata from Tesla.
Hi, it's Captain Kirk McLean here, and you're listening to the Toddcast Podcast.
The Toddcast Podcast
is powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, providing complete financing and mortgage services for residential and small commercial businesses. Visit them at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, here's your host, Todd Hancock.
Can you imagine the scrutiny of being the CEO and sporting director of a pro sports team? Your every decision being dissected by management, by the fans. You got to think that the pressure would be overwhelming. Balancing egos, budgets, expectations. Talk about sleepless nights of trades and tactics. Well, Axel Schuster holds those positions for your Vancouver Whitecaps Pro Soccer, the face of the front office, helping execute tactics, always evolving, eyes forward, constantly scanning depth charts, the youth pipelines, future transfer windows. You won't see him yelling on the sidelines, but make no mistake, when the Whitecaps shift gears mid-season, it's not luck, it's Axel.
Long story short, I was approached by a headhunter for the sporting director job, and I took over in November 2019. And then during COVID, the club was streamlining processes and also we went through a big challenge. We couldn't play at home for 1.5 years. Everyone knows this. And at that time, the business side obviously got a little bit cut down. And the club asked me if I can take over both roles, because at that time there was only more or less a sporting side. And obviously somebody thought that it's going right and successful, and so we stick with the combination of having both titles, being responsible for the business side, that's the CEO title, and being responsible for the sporting side as a sporting director. But I have to say, and this is very important at this point already, to mention that is that I wouldn't be able to do this if I would not have excellent other leaders that are working with me together and who are my direct reports, who are doing a lot of the day-to-day work in both areas.
Gotta love the Coles notes of becoming a CEO for a pro sports team. So joining the Whitecaps as CEO and sporting director, a Canadian actress from Vancouver who you'll know from her role as Amelia Salazar in Netflix's The Recruit, Kaylah Zander. Now here she talks about if she can watch the movies and series that she stars in.
I mean, this is what happens to me. I watch my stuff, and I watch my stuff because I'm still kind of new to acting. You know, I've been doing it for like 7 years now, which in the scheme of things is really not very long. Like you play violin for only 7 years, like you're not a maestro, you know? So I watch my stuff because I'm still very much trying to learn. And I always hate it the first time. I'm like, I shat the bed. I'm atrocious. It looks like garbage to me. It looks like dog's breakfast. And then if I watch it, and then if I give it some time and I watch it again, I'm like, okay, you know what? There were some good moments in here. here's the things I want to work on, but this was actually not bad. It just takes it takes a minute for me.
No surprise, really. I think you'll find that with most people in the entertainment industry. Can't watch, can't listen to anything that we create. Like I never listen to my podcasts once they're complete. I record it, and that's it. I never listen. You'll hear from this week's musical guest in just a second. He is muscle. He is metal, a bodybuilder turned glam metal lead singer. My name is Todd Hancock. Appreciate you taking the time to check us out, or better yet, maybe even keep coming back. It is our sponsors that make it all possible to do what we do, like our title sponsor, Citywide Mortgage Services. It's quite the time, let's be honest. The tariffs and all, coming out of the nastiness of COVID, which in itself really messed up prime interest rates. Well, now we have to deal with economic uncertainty. So that's when you need to trust and rely on your network, my network. If you're searching for a reliable mortgage broker, talk to my good friend Dara. He's one of the owners and a magician with this sort of thing. He really helped me dial up my mortgage renewal back in January. It was just super simple. Couple phone calls, couple emails, and done. The best rate. No fuss, no muss. Again, talk to Dara or any of the brokers, I suppose, through citywidemortgage.ca. Okay, so coming up in just a few minutes in Listen to This, Canadian beach volleyball Olympian Sarah Pavin talks about her longtime goal of competing at an Olympics. That is powered by gold medalists. Tedco RV Supplies in Langley. RV service, repairs, yes, they are ICBC accredited. 9-year sponsor. They have not taken one break in that time. Absolutely key to why we've been able to continually bang out podcasts year in, year out. You can find them kicking around from time to time online as well through Facebook and Twitter. Where else? At Tedco RV Supplies. First, our first guest of 3, this week's musical guest. Now, if you're from Vancouver, you'll likely know Thor. Heavy metal, formed in 1973 by bodybuilder and musician Jon Mikl Thor. So they're known for their theatrical performances, truly exceptional live band. Their debut album, Keep the Dogs Away, was back in 1977. It really gained them some worldwide attention. Lots of UK success in the 80s. Thunder on the Tundra was a big song for Thor. They disbanded in 1986. They reformed in 1997 and went on to release more music. Of course, you can watch their incredible story with the 2015 documentary called I Am Thor. Listen to Jon talking about the music that he grew up around.
Well, I was a huge fan of the Beatles. And I saw them on Ed Sullivan. My parents got me, my first instrument was an accordion. And, I played the accordion polkas and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't think it was very cool. And then I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan in 64. And I just was overwhelmed. Of course, so many great musicians saw the Beatles that night. Millions of
mind-blowing moment for anybody that was watching that, wanted to become a musician.
That's correct. Yes.
Or spurred them on to become a musician is probably better said.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. If you weren't a musician, you wanted to become one. You see all the girls screaming and
like just going crazy. Beatlemania was mental, right?
It was at its height there. It just started in America in 64, and then this went wild. I saw it all happen. I was 11 years old, and I thought, this is amazing. So I started playing guitar, and we had our own band, the Ticks, like a blood-sucking tick, like a wood tick. I thought that was a cool name, right? So anyhow, we had some pretty good songs, and I kept trying to get record deals. Any way I could, believe it or not, back then, or try to get some radio play. There was a guy called Jack Webster. Yeah. I don't know if you remember Jack Webster. He was a talk show host. My mother loved Jack Webster. She'd have Jack Webster on all the time in the morning.
We just had a show called Simply Webster, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah. The Jack Webster show, he's a Scottish guy, so anyhow, I even tried to get, I had my tape on, we recorded, and it was a song called How Nice. I called up the show. I said, I want to talk to Jack Webster. And anyhow, as soon as we started playing in How Nice, he hung up, right? So, it wasn't easy to get any kind of airplay in the early days. And
I don't know if it's any easier today, John. So it's probably still pretty tricky, I think, if you talk to most fans. Yeah.
But yeah, so, a lot of trial and tribulation trying to crack the music industry and the radio.
I posted something on the Toddcast Facebook the other day, Dave Grohl of Foo Fighters, saying that something to the effect of that the Beatles were the most influential band of our time. And really, it's kind of hard to argue that, is it not? So we talked to John for close to a half hour. You can hear it right now at iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts, I guess. And YouTube, if you'd like to check out the video from that, of course, all at Toddcast Podcast. Like we always do, you'll hear more than what John is known for. Of course, fronting Thor, he talks about career highlights of playing shows in Las Vegas, how Merv Griffin and Jimmy Page have ties to his band, and whether Marvel Comics tried to get him to stop using the name Thor.
Well, it's pretty tough to sort of take hold and take full rights on Norse legend like Hercules. How many Hercules movies have you seen, right?
True enough.
Well, Thor, unless you put a tag on it. So I was always Thor the Rock Warrior. But in the beginning, I was Michael Body Rock. And I would be Thor within the show. And when we were in Vancouver, we played the Commodore Ballroom. And this goes back to 1974, and Rob Geldof was in the audience, and at that time he came over here as a student and wrote for Georgia Strait. So he gave us a rave review. We were the kings of glitter rock and muscle rock. So that was another highlight. And from then on, we just kept developing the Thor concept. And it just got, so we already had sort of the common law rights, as you say. And then I trademarked the name Thor the Rock Warrior, Thor the Metal Avenger. And actually, one time, Marvel did, give me a tough time about 15 years ago, because we were starting with the movie I Am Thor came out. And anyhow, we basically said we could both operate in the same universe simultaneously. So we made an agreement, and here we are. But to trademark that name, I had to go through the Queen, because there's a missile called Thor. So we had my trademark agent, and, really had to work hard to get the name slammed through, basically.
True enough, though, right? Marvel doesn't own the name Thor. He's Norse mythology. So it's neat to hear the backstory on that, though. John talked about bouncing at clubs in Vancouver and seeing Heart back in the day in concert, playing the Commodore Ballroom. The Canucks' season came up and how disappointing that was. And you'll love this, the glory days of the 1970s.
Yes, we were Fat Cats back in the 70s, where artists and the labels were making big dough. When we signed with the record company RCA back in the 70s, we got a pretty big advance and everyone did well. But some highlights for me, and there's been so many, there's been many lows, of course, as well, but a lot of highlights. And, one is being on the Merv Griffin show, and that was in 1976. And there were literally millions of people viewing the show back then, and I was live from Caesar's Palace. It was a big break for me because that got me notoriety and offers for record deals and movies and all that kind of stuff. So that was the big.
Isn't that incredible? Right? Like one show just kind of blows it up.
Yes. Big break for me, and then of course in England playing the Marquee and having Jimmy Page come to see the show in 1984, and just that also gave me a big break over in England, where we had some number one rock hits with Thunder in the Tundra and Let the Blood Run Red, Anger, some of the favorites, right?
And what a trip it must be for Jon, right? Having started his band in the 70s, gone through the heydays there, and still cranking out music 50 years later. He talks about that, writing new music with Al Harlow of Prism. We talked about the grind of getting radio airplay, playing shows with Joey Shithead and DOA. And one of the reasons we had him on as a guest, his Victoria 1925 sportswear.
Well, actually, it goes way back to in 2008. I was bringing back the Vancouver Millionaires and had trademarked. No one had the trademark for the Vancouver Millionaires, and my wife and I. Well, she's a tremendous. Catherine, she's a tremendous artist and designer, and she was able to revise the Millionaires logo and all that. And we came out with a whole sportswear line. The Giants wore it on ice, and then eventually it got bigger and bigger to where we were able to sell it to the NHL and the Vancouver Canucks. So I was very much into recreating sweaters and jerseys and for history too, to bring to a new young audience, along with music. Like I would, back in the days of the Vancouver Millionaires, when we were trying to develop it, I was working with Joe Keithley, and we'd do a Vancouver Millionaires show. So we're bringing them back from the dead because people had forgotten about them. So anyhow, it was so great to see the Canucks wearing for the Heritage Classic the Millionaires jerseys. So that being said, it went from there to even the Dallas Stars got a hold of us, and we put together all the sweaters. They have quite a history that Texas hockey, believe it or not, goes way back to the late 1800s. But anyhow, we developed a whole series of sweaters and so on and so forth. 15 years ago, we were working on the Victoria Cougars line. We have it trademarked as Victoria 1925. Seattle, we were doing the Seattle Metropolitans, the whole Pacific Coast Hockey Association, which of course had Vancouver in it, Victoria, Portland, Seattle. So I'm kind of
you're knee deep.
I'm just a total geek altogether, comic books and all this stuff that maybe even, I don't know how many people know about all this history. You got to read a lot of books on it. And there are various organizations where guys, all the, historical hockey geeks get together, and they talk about geeky stuff and old time hockey.
The Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca.
Catch your ladders, think it's better that I stay far. The seeds you planted still grow. You used to call me home. Now the bed we used to share is where I sleep alone. I'm glad we got to grow together before we grew apart. Catch your ladders, think it's better that I stay far. The seeds you planted still grow. You used to call me home. Now the bed we used to share is where I sleep alone. Boy, I can't handle this. The blade in my back is scandalous. Why spend your time tearing up your life? I'll be right here by your side. So tell your friends that they were right about me. Nothing the same about you to mine.
And now, listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
Can you imagine having the discipline to become an Olympian, representing your country with the best of the best? Let's just assume you have the skill to get there. But it takes more than that. 2 words: dedication, sacrifice. These people often train for years and years from a young age in hopes of getting to the Olympics. The personal sacrifices they make, limited time with family and friends, first off, the physicality of it all, the insane workouts, the diets, the intense competition. You really have to have the mental fortitude to compete against the best. And just because you're disciplined and skilled doesn't mean you'll make it to the Olympics. When Canadian beach volleyball Olympian Sarah Pavin was a guest, she talked about the adversity of elite competition like that. Of course, you'll know her as a former indoor volleyball player who has, since our chat, retired. And super cool to get into Sarah's life as well, talking about Marvel movies and superpowers, meeting Donald Sutherland, the music of the Eagles, the Beatles, growing up emo. We talked about superstitions, binging Gilmore Girls and Love is Blind, seeing John Mayer in concert, and she talked about her childhood goal of making it to the Olympics. Listen to this.
My biggest goal since I was a little kid was to go to the Olympics. And you know, even though I was on the indoor national team, it just wasn't happening. And as I got into my mid-20s, I was like, okay, if I want to make the Olympics happen, I kind of feel like I have to take matters into my own hands. So I just decided to pick up beach to hopefully try to make the Olympics that way, because I didn't think it was going to happen indoor.
That's crazy. And then, so of course were you filtering through the people that you knew playing indoor to be able to team up to do beach, or how did that happen?
The way it worked, like if you have an established career indoor, it is very rare that you leave indoor. You know, the opportunities are greater, the money is better, it's a better career path. Like, if you're established indoor, you don't really leave. Let me pause
you then, because so your parents they know your path. What were they saying?
To be completely honest, I didn't stop playing indoor when I played beach. I was still going and taking professional contracts overseas from September until April. And then I would play beach for Canada in my off months. So my main career was still indoor. I didn't want to give it up. So for 6 years, I kind of did that cycle. So my parents were like, yeah, do whatever you need to do to go to the Olympics. But they knew I was still playing indoor. They were completely on board and supportive of me leaving the indoor national team to try to make this happen. Yeah, they were completely supportive.
Listen to This on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC-approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies. And now, highlighting our next Blue Light Sessions, powered in part by Canadian Club Whiskey. Meet your new cold one. We serve Canadian Club and Ginger ready-to-drink cocktails at all of our live shows. Visit CanadianClub.com today.
Centerfold. The band is Southern Death Threat and Wanted Sevenfold. A big song for those guys. Cool music video as well. I'd be willing to bet my life that you will see that one at our next live show, Friday, May 23, at the Blue Light Studio in East Vancouver. The Toddcast Podcast Blue Light Sessions, Volume 38. We're getting up there. Southern Death Threat, Fear the Possessed, and Lonely Funeral. Interviews, performances, intimate, interactive. It's $20 if there's still tickets left. I don't know that there's many, to be honest. It's Brennan, the guitarist of SDTs, his 50th birthday. I would recommend getting a room for the night if you're coming in from the burbs, because chances are this one's going to get messy. So if you can grab tickets, I don't know again if there's still any left, to be honest. But you can buy early through eventbrite.ca, eventbrite, eventbrite.ca. 20 bones. Search out Toddcast Podcast. You can't miss it. So I played you Cloud Sick, and that was their song called Letters Kept, and another local gem here in Vancouver. Probably my favorite band of the last year locally. Anyway, that debut album is front to back excellent. They have a show coming up as well in less than 2 weeks on Thursday, May 15th at Green Auto, again in East Vancouver. In fact, it's right across the alley from where we do our shows at Blue Light. Cool show. Precursor, Idiofame, Folded Hand, and Cloudsick for just $20, $25 at the door. It's an all ages show for that one. So coming up shortly in Stop Me If You've Heard This Before, award-winning broadcaster Dawn Chubey shares how she got her start in media. That is powered by the Home Dwell Group, longtime friends of the podcast. I've known one of the managing partners since literally grade 6, was his best man at his wedding. We still hang all the time. We're thick as thieves. He knows the industry inside and out. So if you're buying a house, you're selling your home, contact Kyle today and he'll help you get it done. Super simple. homedwell.ca. First, let's get to the second of 3 Toddcast guests this week. Our sporting guest is the CEO and sporting director for your Vancouver Whitecaps, Axel Schuster. Now, as a fan of the club, without fail, every year I reach out to the club to get a player on. And this year, Nathan, one of the marketing people, he says, hey, what do you think about talking to our CEO and sporting director? To which I promptly replied, absolutely, exclamation, as you might expect. What a cool perspective he has of the game. Now, here's a club. The MLS iteration of the team goes back to 2009. It was established then. They didn't get Major League play until 2011. The league's 17th team. BC Place is home turf. 27,000 people can come watch the games. And this year, if you don't keep up, the Whitecaps are on an absolute tear. At the time of doing this podcast, they're first in the Western Conference, 5 points up on Portland. At this point, if you're a fan of the club, like literally, you're expecting them to make the playoffs every year. And a key reason for that is CEO Axel Schuster. He's been with the club since 2019, coming over from Germany, where he worked for a couple of decades with teams over there. Axel's currently on a 4-year contract extension that goes till the end of next season, but expect him to stick around after that too. He talks a little bit about that in the full interview, his future plans and how Vancouver plays into that. Super cool to talk with a CEO and sporting director for a pro soccer club. Listen to Axel talk about his first soccer memory.
Oh, that's pretty easy because I really remember that, and it's funny because it's it's the 1982 World Cup, the semifinal between Germany and France. In that Germany was 3-1 down in the overtime and came back and scored the 3-3, and then we had this crazy penalty shootout. So I know that the whole family was watching that and was one of the probably most crazy games in the German World Cup history. So I really remember that I felt this passion and everyone was in front of the screen and they couldn't believe how this game was going. And that's definitely something that I know still where we have been, where the TV was standing and how the people were around this TV. And that's my first remembrance.
Yeah. And what's cool, Axel, is that, you know, your club's giving that to local kids here in the Lower Mainland. You know, the first thing they'll remember about soccer is probably something with your club.
Yeah, you know, this is the one thing that I always try to also get into the minds and into the day work of our people in the club. I come from a background where clubs are way more than just a soccer franchise, and I think the Vancouver Whitecaps are way more than a soccer franchise. We are a community club, and a community club means that we have a huge responsibility also, and so you sometimes look at the teams at the top of the pyramid and you think like, wow, they are in the best spot ever, but that also means you have a lot of responsibility for the game, for the young kids, because you are their role model, that you are the club that they're looking at first. So if you want this sport to grow in this country, in your city, if you want to do the right things to engage more kids and people in the sport, what in the long term will benefit you again at the top, you have to do also a lot of the things in your community, right? And that's also what we try to do. And it's not about doing it for marketing and posting it every week. It's about doing it with the conviction that this will be the only thing that can help your club in the long term to grow and to be successful.
Isn't that cool? The early memories of Axel. We talked to him for about 35 minutes, by the way. You can hear it, you can see it. We did it on Zoom, and it's all splashed all over our social media platforms, all at Toddcast Podcast, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, YouTube for the videos. So the Whitecaps have won the Canadian Championships 4 times in 2015, 2022, 2023, 2024. Again, Axel got to the club in 2019. I'm just saying. And great to get outside of what he's known for as well and hear about his family life, and talks about walking the seawall in Stanley Park. He calls that the family recharge. He talked about seeing his first concert in Germany and the music that's in his life. And in terms of the sport itself, what are the biggest differences of working in soccer here versus in Europe?
I don't mean that in any negative way. It's just a fact. So I think the one thing that I right away from the beginning said, it's not me coming here and telling you what is all better in Germany or in Europe. It's me understanding and learning how the situation is here, and then to see if we can improve certain things. I think there's generally a less understanding of the game. So we sometimes have to help people and educate them a little bit about things. This goes that far that people sometimes struggle with the different competitions we play. We still see that if we play the Champions Cup, that you meet people in the city and they say, but what kind of competition is that? They are not playing MLS. So this is the one thing. I think that in Europe, the game is the most important thing, and it is the only game. Here you have various other good sports that are playing in a significant role. So people in Europe, they read every day everything about soccer and only soccer. And it is way like maybe 10% of the people follow some other sports. Okay. Here it is the opposite. People follow at least one other sport as much as soccer. In most of the cases, other sports more than soccer. And also that obviously then you can see in all the media landscape that there's way more, or at least the same amount of reporting about other sports, what takes a little bit away from soccer. So we have to do a little bit more of that, because I still find people sometimes who are generally interested in sport, but they don't know how we perform right now. I met people who didn't even knew that we play in BC Place, but they knew that the Vancouver Whitecaps are in town. So there's some more work that we have to do to educate people. But that's just what it is. That's not a bad thing.
That's great, right? I love that he prefaces it with like, no offense, basically, no doubt, none taken. Soccer is popular here in North America, but nowhere near what it is in Europe. Like they go mental for it over there, football. The Whitecaps are lucky to have Axel leading the way, let's be honest, as we build our rivalries with the Seattle Sounders, Portland Timbers. Like I said, if you're a fan of the club at this point, the playoffs, it is the playoffs or bust. You'll love hearing him talk about the COVID years, some of his proud club moments, managing fan base expectations, and what are the biggest challenges of the job?
I'm general. I think we are not shy of challenging us every day in every single area of the club. So I don't feel that anything is super challenging, because working pro sport every day is a challenge, and every training is a challenge for every of my players. So I would say the where are the areas where we think we have to grow, and where we are maybe focusing the most and thinking the most is obviously to grow the supportership, to grow the people who get behind the club. This team is first in the league, and to tell the story, to connect with new communities that we are not connecting yet with, to find links and bridges to them. We have now a South Asian advisory committee. We had now since several years we celebrate the Vaisakhi night. To find, I would say, new or back old supporters of the club, to make it even a bigger thing, because we want to be a society club. And obviously, we are already very big, but our stadium is huge. There's a lot of capacity, and I think there's a lot of space for more people who we have to tell our story first, and who understand why this is important for the community, who have to understand why this is a good thing to support. And I would say that's the one area where we are very focused on, and we are always looking for new solutions.
Red Truck Beer, delivered fresh, the official beer of the Toddcast podcast.
And now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
I speak from experience. Going out on your own, being an entrepreneur is tough. Lots of thinking, lots of hustling. It is rewarding, stressful. When you don't have the luxury of relying on a job or a corporation to help pay your bills, all of that financial stress falls directly on your shoulders. That said, so many people do it daily. Startup businesses, your vision, the grind to get it off the ground, constantly evolving, innovation leading the charge, your problem solving along the way. Someone locally who has done a great job is TV host Dawn Chubey. 23 years hosting breakfast TV in Vancouver, Rogers Broadcasting. You saw her as the anchor woman in 2007's Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. How cool is that? A couple of years ago, Dawn started up LiveSellingSchool.com, and it's absolutely crushing it. Resilience, passion, persistence. Great to talk to Dawn about shifting away from TV and launching her own thing. Get into other parts of her life as well, like binging Physical and Yellowstone, meeting Dr. Sanjay Gupta, the music of Chicago and Billy Joel, cooking to impress your dinner guests. The Easter Seals drop zone came up, so did concert tickets and the prices post-COVID, how crazy they are now. She shared a near-death story. And stop me if you've heard this before. Dawn talked about how she got her start working in media.
Oh my gosh, I fell into it. Right. Oh. I'm a singer. I mean, I don't really sing anymore, but I was born and raised in Edmonton and I was a jazz singer, released a couple of albums. The end of my first album, I was promoting my music quite a bit on kind of like, breakfast television in Edmonton, right? It was called Big Breakfast back then. And at some point, I would do my music there. I would sing there. I'd promote my gigs. The odd time, I mean, they really were great to me because they would sometimes send a camera out to my gigs, covered my CD release party and all of that. Anyway, at some point they kind of said, why don't you come and audition to be like, this is back in the day when you called it the weather girl, right?
Right.
Now, sure. You're right. You're the weather girl. And come and audition. Right. So I auditioned and I was not very good. I actually put that audition on YouTube just to kind of show that everybody starts somewhere. Sure. It's called Dawn Chubey Vintage Video, if anyone wants to look at it. And I'd just come back from Korea. I was performing in Korea for the Alberta Travel Expo, and I was representing Alberta along with Laura Vinson, who is an Indigenous group and dancers and everyone there. And I came back and it was the day after I returned. So I was completely jet lagged because, working on Asian time, then coming back to Canada. And I auditioned. It was not very good at all. They sent me a note saying, we're going to go with someone a little more experienced. I'm like, that's fine. You called me. I didn't even audition for this. I have a job. I was working in public relations for a nursing association. So, I left it at that. I, still obviously loved the show and I still knew I would have potential to perform and promote my gigs on the show. And I think it was about 3 weeks later. I don't know. It was a long time. It was 23 years ago. And they said, hey, you've made it to like the final 3. And I'm like, how did that happen? You told me I sucked. Like,
how bad were everybody else?
Exactly. And they said, well, we know you don't have any television experience. You didn't go to, it's NAIT in Alberta, but that would be like the BCIT, right?
Yeah.
And they go, we know that you didn't, have any of the education that other people did. So, what we're going to spend a couple minutes with you and give you kind of like a flash course, right? I'm like, all right.
Wow.
So I came in and obviously it was moderately better, which I think would tell them that I'm trainable. Regardless, they ended up offering me the job. And let me tell you, and I don't know if anybody out there knows, I mean, everyone thinks media makes a ton of money. And let me just tell you, unless you are like a handful, especially local media, you don't. But it was a great opportunity. So they offered me the job. You're going to laugh. And by the way, nowadays, like when you do like a morning show, like you are hired typically as a full-time employee, even though the show might be 3 hours, right? Yep. It's not just showing up and, hey, there's my job. I mean, there's a lot that goes into being on television and prepping for shows, and it's beyond what people see at home. Mm-hmm. So they offered me what they called part-time, which I think was kind of, obviously a way to sort of not pay as much. But hey, I'd never been in TV before, especially like as a broadcaster. They paid me $15,000. I took it.
Stop Me If You've Heard This Before on the Toddcast podcast is powered by the Homed Well Group. Buying a house? Selling your home? Contact Kyle at homedwell.ca today.
I mean, straight up, this is going to be a super heavy night. That band is Fear the Possessed, and a heavy song for those guys called Heavy Blood. I bet you'll see that one May 23 at the Blue Light Studio, assuming, of course, you're one of the lucky 60 in attendance. I think there's about 5 or 6 tickets left, if that. I haven't checked in about a week. It could be sold out, as mentioned, for all I know. Southern Death Threat, Fear the Possessed, Lonely Funeral. Tickets are available through eventbrite.ca, if there's any left. Eventbrite, B-R-I-T-E, eventbrite.ca. You heard Chief State, and that was their awesome song called Continental Drift. Nothing to report on those guys. Just love the song. I thought you would dig it as well. I watched a hockey game with the boys maybe about a month and a half, 2 months back now. And at the time, they were talking about recording and getting new music ready, just kind of formulating the game plan and all that good stuff. So hopefully you'll hear some new music from them sooner than later. Okay, so our final guest of episode 363 is actress Kaylah Zander, this week's entertainment guest, powered by Thrive Management, longtime friends of the podcast. Just so lucky to have good friends who own businesses, who get it, who understand today's marketing. You're always on your phone. people listen to podcasts as much as they do radio or anything else. It's simple. It's effective marketing. And Sasha, yeah, she gets it. She's been in the event industry forever and runs Thrive Management, a very cool event staffing agency here in Canada. Models, brand ambassadors, we're talking operations, sales, TV, film, trade shows, whatever it is. They work in major cities across the country. Find out how Sasha and her team can take your next event to that next level. Everything you need to know is at thrivemanagement.ca. So as mentioned off the top, you'll likely know, or best know maybe, actress Kaylah Zander as Amelia Salazar in Netflix's The Recruit. But before getting into the industry, she worked in another part of the business. Remember Black Dog Video on Commercial Drive? One of the last video stores in Vancouver.
I mean, I loved film. I worked at Black Dog Video when I was 19 years old, 18 years old. I started working at Black Dog Video on Commercial Drive.
I saw that too, and I was like, oh my God, I've definitely seen her. That's where I've also seen her.
Yeah, I worked there for almost 6 years. And I think my first love was probably film before it was acting. So I think I think a lot of those foreign films and those independent films that I saw there, some of that harder to find stuff that they stocked at Black Dog Video, I think that really shaped me as a person and gave me a really deep appreciation for film. But
yeah, because they were like the last video store like in the world, I think. Well, certainly Canada.
Yeah, they were the last video store standing in Vancouver for sure. And maybe even in Canada. I don't know. There's a couple places that sell DVDs still, but not that rent.
No.
But I was working at a little cafe after my dad passed away, and I was just trying to get back on my feet. And a bunch of actors would come into this little cafe because there was these audition studios nearby, and they would come in after auditions, and they would talk about it, and they would tell me all about it, and they were like, "We do commercials. You should try it. You'd be great at it." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." I started doing commercials, and then I was like, "Oh, I forgot how much I like acting." And then I started training in New York, and that's what got me back into acting. So I'll credit my friends Maria Turner and who else was at that cafe?
It's super interesting to hear Kaylah talking about that side of the industry and being part of the last remaining video rental stores. The full talk is close to 40 minutes long. It's online now. All of the usual suspects, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. You've seen Kaylah in lots of stuff. Rescued by Ruby, Needle in the Time Stack, Fire Country, Goosebumps, Supergirl, The 100, iZombie, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and great to hear her take on movies and the TV series being filmed here in Vancouver. She talked about what it's like being in New York City. Reggae and jazz came up. Being politically minded. Superhero movies, we talked about that. Seeing Frank Ocean in concert. Kaylah told a near-death horse story and touched on the shows that she's been binge-watching lately.
Severance, obviously. We're back to White Lotus. Me and my roommate, we both speak Spanish. We just finished Cien Años de Soledad, which is a Colombian adaptation of the famous book 100 Years of Solitude. Yeah, mostly those.
I mean, in general, I like hearing about what people have been binge watching. It kind of gives you an idea of what they're about and maybe even something for you to watch as well. But certainly when they're in the industry, I think it's just super, super cool. So as we always do, we went further than what Kaylah's known for. Interestingly, she has a degree in anthropology from UBC. So we talked about that. How could you not bring up Indiana Jones movies knowing that? We talked about Star Wars, self-critiques, and if she had to pick, give us one career highlight.
I have a lot of nostalgic feelings for a music video that I made with some friends in like 2017.
Okay.
It's called Light of the Moon by another Vancouver local, Tarek. I think he's brilliant.
Okay.
And my friend Casey Lum was the director. And we shot this music video, and it was just like a passion project. Like nobody was getting paid. the crew was out in the pouring rain, just like soaked. Everybody was fucking soaked. But I loved it because I just remember like none of us were getting paid. Everybody wanted to be there. We were all starting off our careers. And since then, I've seen a lot of those people, like watched them have these incredible successes and get bigger and bigger opportunities. But when we see each other at parties, like even, you know, I remember everybody on the crew, and I look at them sometimes and I think just very fondly of this one music video. It was like fall, and they wanted me to lie on the road in the rain with like only one shoe. That was my idea, actually. But yeah, I just remember being at an early stage in my career where people just really wanted to make art and they wanted to see what they were capable of, and we all pushed ourselves, and it had nothing to do with money or clout or any of that. And
yeah, well, that's why you hold it so dear, is because of that.
Yeah.
Toddcast Podcast entertainment guest visits are powered by Thrive Management, an event staffing agency that provides staffing services across Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Ottawa, and all of BC. Find out more at thrivemanagement.ca.
You're my lady, but you tell me you're my girl. You're my lady, but you tell me you're my girl. My mind gets set on you when I'm all alone and I'm feeling blue. I try to tell you, baby, that I want you in my world. And my mind works all the time when I'm here at home and you're on my mind. I try to tell you, baby, I need you in my world. You're good enough to be bad, and I waited a long time. You're good enough to be bad, and I waited a long time. Every day I get closer to you, feels like I am drowning my own seas of depression through the walls, and I hope that music can save your life. Hey, hey, ah, hey, hey, ah, hey, hey, ah, hey, hey, ah. Yeah, yeah. Say good morning, would you tell me you're my girl? Love you more than anyone in this whole world. Yeah. And my mind gets set on you when I'm all alone and I'm feeling blue. I try to tell you, baby, that I want you in my world. And my mind works all the time when I'm here at home and you're on my mind. I try to tell you, baby, I need you in my world. You're good enough to be bad, and I waited a long time, long time. You're good enough to be bad, and I waited a long time. Oh, every day I get closer to you, feels like I am drowning my own tears am drowning my own tears of depression through the walls, in the hope that music can save your life. Hey, 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 it feels like you're my lady, would you tell me you're my girl?
And there's the Boom Booms, good enough to be bad, and so cool to see them in Vancouver's music scene. Remember, right around the time of COVID, they basically said, we're done on their social media feeds, and then suddenly, boom, there's new music, you're seeing some live shows, which hopefully means they're still banging away for some time here, which would be very cool. Looking forward to next week. Ancients singer Kenny Cook is a guest. Here he talks about being compared from time to time to a great band, Mastodon.
Yeah, like we obviously get that, and I think a lot of bands get that because you need some sort of frame of reference to the sound being generated, right? And that could go like when this band kind of first started. That's like a funny thing because I was just sort of hearing Mastodon for the first time, like Opeth and bands like that we get compared to frequently. But I never really set out to like, oh, I want to sound just like this band. But some of the things that they were doing really intrigued me, like different time signatures and just, combining different elements of different types of music. That really kind of bled into my writing, I think, at the time. But yeah, I don't really give two shits about it, right? I'm just kind of, first and foremost, like I always say, it's like music is more of a selfish thing first and foremost. Like we're not here trying to just create somebody that we think or something that we think somebody's going to like it all kind of just matters whether it makes you happy with what you're doing, right? Sort of any single person listening to your music and enjoying it after that fact is all a complete bonus, but it's more so just the camaraderie and the want to just create, right? And be happy with what you're doing.
And true enough, though, right? Kenny's right. When you tell your friend about a certain band, they always like, well, what are they like? Who are they like? Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and Metallica? What are they like? Beastie Boys? Like, you kind of need to know that. Next podcast, joining Ancients singer Kenny Cook, IFBB Pro National Champion Alicia Bell, and actor Adam Ambruso. Of course, big thanks to this week's guests, Thor singer Jon Mikl Thor, Whitecaps FC CEO Sporting Director Axel Schuster, and actress Kaylah Zander. Thank you for taking the time to be a guest on the little podcast that could. As we wrap up episode 363, once again, my name is Todd Hancock. Thank you so much for being there, for listening and checking us out. If you like what you heard, please tell your friends about us. If not, tell me. I'm firing everybody on staff. I won't do that. It's just me. We are part of the Realm.fm network. Realm.fm network. They're based out of New York City. Tons of great fiction and nonfiction podcasts. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Megaphone, YouTube. Please comment and rate the podcast. It helps out with the search results. Of course, what else but Toddcast podcast. Huge thanks to all of our excellent sponsors. You can find links to all sponsor websites at toddhancock.ca. You can sponsor the podcast with your business or yourself, which would be a bit weird, but I'd still do that. For as little as $10 a day. Contact info is at the homepage of the website. Maybe we'll have a coffee, have a beer, and see what we can do together. By the way, if you help us find a sponsor, we'll give you a commission. I'm not making that up. That is legit. It's happened. It could happen again. So keep that in mind. If you know a business that gets outside of the box advertising, shoot them my way and I'll take it from there. Okay? Till next time, don't be an asshole. Nobody wants to be around that. Nobody. Have fun, play hard, And most of all, believe in yourself.
You've been listening to the Toddcast podcast, powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, dedicated to helping you find the best mortgage rates. Available 7 days a week at citywidemortgage.ca.
Have you ever heard about the 19th century French actress with so many lovers that they formed a lovers' union? Or what about the Aboriginal Australian bandit who faked going into labor just to escape the police, which she did escape from them. It was a great plan. How about the French queen who murdered her rival with poison gloves? I'm Ann Foster, host of the feminist women's history comedy podcast, Vulgar History. Every week I share the saga of a woman from history whose story you probably didn't already know, and you will never forget after you hear it. Sometimes we re-examine well-known people like Cleopatra or Pocahontas, sharing the truth behind their legends. Sometimes we look at the scandalous women you'll never find in a history textbook. Listen to Vulgar History wherever you get podcasts. And if you're curious, the people I was talking about before, the Australian woman is named Marianne Bugg, and the French actress was named Rochelle, no last name, just Rochelle. And the queen who poisoned her rival is Catherine de Medici. I have episodes about all of them.
Can you actually change your personality if you want to? How does peer pressure work, and why is it so powerful? Should you ever really trust your gut when you make a big decision? These are just a few of the topics we've recently covered on my podcast, Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and each episode of Something You Should Know covers multiple topics that are likely relevant to you. You'll discover things you can use in your life today, right now, like how to have a great conversation, how to be more courageous, the anatomy of the perfect apology, and much, much more. To date, there are over 1,000 episodes of Something You Should Know, and we've gotten over 4,000 mostly 5-star reviews. I invite you to check out Something You Should Know. Look for the bright yellow light bulb on the blue background. Something You Should Know, wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Amy Nicholson, the film critic for the LA Times.
And I'm Paul Scheer, an actor, writer, and director. You might know me from The League, Veep, or my non-eligible for Academy Award role in Twisters.
We love movies, and we come at them from different perspectives.
Yeah, like Amy thinks that, Joe Pesci was miscast in Goodfellas, and I don't.
He's too old. Let's not forget that Paul thinks that Dune 2 is overrated.
It is.
Anyway, despite this, we come together to host Unspooled, a podcast where we talk about good movies, critical hits,
fan favorites, must-sees, and in case you missed them.
We're talking Parasite to Home Alone.
From Grease to The Dark Knight.
We've done deep dives on popcorn flicks. We've talked about why Independence Day deserves a second look.
And we've talked about horror movies, some that you've never even heard of, like Ganja and Hess.
So if you love movies like we do, come along on our cinematic adventure.
Listen to Unspooled wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to hit the follow button.